Got some good news for you. If you're flying American Airlines, the ground halt has been lifted. So that's good for you holiday travels. Holiday trading, that's what we're going to talk about today. The meme stocks having a big day yesterday, led by Rumble. Not earnings to talk about. Durable goods at 8:30. We got two guests today. Mish Schneider is going to give her outlook for 2025 at 8:35, and Dennis said he wanted Jeff Hirsch of the Stock Traders Almanac to come on. Jeff is coming up at 9 a.m., folks. We got a jam packed show for this shortened traded day. Happy holidays.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, good morning, traders and investors. I hope everyone is as good a mood as me and Dennis and Christian. Let's run down the commodities and futures. The rally continues. We're up 5 3/4 handles at 60.41.75. The buck trying to clear that 108 level, up about a dime, 107.90. TLT, it's red, but it's always red, matching your recent low of the move. USO finding support at 72. That's up 30 cents to 73.36. Gold and silver ETFs going in opposite directions. You have the gold ETF up slightly, 42 cents, 241.38. Silver, that's down 11 cents. The ETF can't get back over 27, 26.88. Bitcoin hanging out in the mid 90 handle, coming off a double bottom, up $845 at 94,115. Let me bring on, or you can bring on yourselves, our esteemed co-host, Triple D, Christian in the background. Are you guys flying anywhere for the holidays, or are you guys staying at home?
I'll leave it to Christian. I already flew. I flew to Florida and came back. So my flying is over. What about you, Christian?
Well, I'm long shovels, first of all,
Oh,
because we could just continue to get more snow in upstate New York. So it's already got some exercise in this morning. It's been great.
okay. How much is on the ground?
Not much.
Yeah.
So every time
You can't complain.
I'm not complaining. I actually like it. I like it when it's the 2 to 3 inch variety, and it takes me like 10 minutes to do this. So, the answer to your question, I'll be traveling just to New Jersey to see my family. Very excited to see everybody. It's going to be a little bit more than usual, I think, this Christmas, but just going to my mom's house. She's in like Central Jersey-ish, so it will still be a travel, and then I'll be in New York City for a couple days too, hanging out. So I look forward to that.
What about
So
you,
what
Mr.
days are you
Elconin?
off again? I think you told me. Or are you going to
I
be working?
I will be. I think I've got one more day, and then I'm out for the rest of the year, rest
Are
of
you coming back
2024.
on the second, though, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Okay. All
Me
right.
and
Well,
Joel will be here. The only show we will miss is the 25th. So the Wednesday and the Wednesday. We will no show on Christmas, no show on New Year's Day. So 2 Wednesdays you're going to miss here. But otherwise, tune in. The show will be here. We will be going live here. And we are going live here right now. Holiday trade, gentlemen. Holiday trade. And it's always interesting. Some of these days can be very quiet, but sometimes they can move because, again, we talk about institutions not being at their desk, liquidity being lower. So if you get some news, you can have some pretty decent sized moves. And Christian, to your point yesterday, we had some good moves in the semis.
Yeah, I mean, we had a guest on yesterday who talked about how the semis looked attractive in terms of demand supply yesterday. So SMH, really a nice move, and that stood out to me. That was strong all day yesterday, even though the first hour of the day was a little bit bumpy. The volatile VIX rose to about 20, and then trailed off from there. But the semis were, you could just tell, were very strong. One of the first names that I saw move up was AMD. I was like, hey, what's going on with AMD? And
Yeah.
sometimes, folks are looking for a story, but there was no major story really to be found, other than the administration being, lenient and for overall for chips. But you had a really nice handful of them go. It was a pretty, in terms of, we've been complaining about poor breadth. It was very strong breadth yesterday in the semis because it was AMD, it was Nvidia, was also strong. Nvidia is very close to turning the corner back up. And then you had the ones that have been strong, stayed strong. The Broadcom, AVGO had a really nice day yesterday. That name I'm long. I'm also long Astera Labs. That's ALAB.
Yeah.
So that one to me, I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. We got a nice move in the chips. I like when it seems to be like a more exciting market when the chips go. So kudos to Tim yesterday on the show.
Yeah, great calls by Tim here. He's always made great calls for us. Nvidia, like, I mean, his story is not going away. That's what you've got to consider is like when I'm like positioning myself for next year, it's like, what are people going to be talking about in 2025? Where is money going to be flowing to? Where is it really going to be going? And maybe we get an early dip in some names, off of some profit taking, and that often happens. But that still should have your shopping list, because that doesn't mean, just because they go down maybe the first week of January, a little pullback, maybe, some profit taking after the tax year ends. That these stories are over. That might be the opportunity here. And when you look at Nvidia, you think there's probably going to be some talk about AI in 2025. It's probably pretty safe. Probably pretty safe that Nvidia is going to continue to be talked about as well. Broadcom, same story. The semis and chips, same story here. So I think, if I'm preparing for next year, write your list of stocks that you think are going to be talked about in 2025 and story stocks, because story still drives price. And I think Nvidia is still probably right at the top of that list. So probably dips and Nvidia is still to be bought. I'm hoping for the nice January little, fallback here in some of these names. And maybe that gives you an opportunity to get in. Still long Nvidia in the long-term portfolio.
Nice 2-day rally. I noticed when I was out last week, it had some real favorable news, didn't it? It was something about they were coming out with a cheaper chip or something. I thought I just saw it. And one day when the market was weak, I just, it just kind of like, I don't know if it was green or whatever, but it really hung in there. I love this upper right chart, and I think that and this is just a good exercise not only for Nvidia, but I think for a lot of the other stocks that you're trading now. I love, when you're going up every day and you have highs, it's like, okay, all-time high is potential resistance. The all-time close is a good number. But when you have a substantial break in something, and that's what we had in the market, you get the rebound. And I love to follow the rebound. And I might be off here a little bit, but you're right at the 50% retracement from that all-time high that was made on earnings day. You got a couple tops here at the 140 and a half area. So we're trading above it right now, up 86 cents. But I think, and there's not much between 140 and 145, but I think if you want to like say, okay, we need to build the base here at 140 and then get up there and test the 145 level. We mentioned Broadcom yesterday. You could still do, I mean, you could just apply. I'm not going to do it for every stock, but you could just apply the same thing. And Broadcom's probably already there at the 50% retracement. And that was another thing we talked about was just like, when you have these breaks and you get the shopping, what's worked in a rising interest rate environment? It's been tech, and
Yeah, it's hard to bet against tech in 2025. It's hard to bet against all these storage stocks, and I think people are honestly positioning. And I think if you're coming in and buying right now, you could be a little early. I think you're going to get a better shot in early January, because I do think there's going to be some profit taking in some of these names, but I still get that shopping list going. And, some of these, stocks are at the top of the list. I don't know Broadcom at this point in time. They were talking about it on CNBC yesterday, and, I was looking at it too. AVGO is trading with a higher valuation than Nvidia now. So, I mean, it's really expanded. And I can remember talking about Broadcom a year ago when we were talking about AVGO trading 20, 21 times earnings. Then it felt pretty good. It's now like 37 times earnings. So at a certain point in time, valuation does start to matter on some of these stocks, because I don't know if the growth is going to be there to justify it. At 19 to 20 times earnings, AVGO was a no-brainer. That was obviously earlier in the year when the stock was 120 bucks. Obviously did the split and stuff for 130 bucks, but we've almost doubled since then. So, you do have to consider that. Story is one thing, and story drives price. But, when story starts to cool off, and there will be some cooling periods, valuation does matter. And I feel like Broadcom is at a point where it's not number one on my shopping list, because the valuation here is stretched relative to itself.
What about AMD, man? That thing has been
wow.
Look at that.
Rosenblatt did give it a buy rating yesterday. And that was coming from the chat too, but I saw it as well. That may have been a little bit of a catalyst for the kickstart. It's continuing here today. I mean, I have a position in this. I obviously, I sold some stock and then I reloaded in the 140s. That was obviously early because, the stock's at 127 here now. So not doing great on that. Still have a core long position that I'm in from at 93. It's been, it should have been taking some profits here. The valuation obviously got stretched when it got over to $200 earlier in the year, but it's hard to bet against Lisa Su. So, I mean, I always say buy good companies, reasonable valuations. Is AMD a reasonable valuation? I don't know if it was ever that reasonable, but you could see the potential for it to grow because, obviously if they could just capture some of that market share. They haven't been able to do it yet, though. They haven't given us any indication that they're going to start eating NVIDIA's lunch anytime soon. And that's why the market's just not patient, and you can't blame the market, and investors aren't patient here. They've been waiting a long time to see AMD start to go up and start to challenge NVIDIA as a true number two, and it really hasn't happened. And that's why AMD is lagged. Does it happen in 2025? Maybe it does. I'll pose that question to Christian. I'll pose that question to the chat. Is AMD a 2025 story here, Christian?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It does take me back to when AMD used to battle with Intel, right? You don't hear about that fight anymore. Now you hear the fight with more or less with NVIDIA. So I mean, I like Lisa Su too as the CEO, but I like Jensen a little bit better.
Yeah.
It has the chance to definitely outperform this year versus last year, but I'm going to stick with, even though Broadcom is expensive, that's a very interesting argument because I wasn't really looking at it from that standpoint because I do own Broadcom. I was very excited about that move on earnings. So that's something that maybe, I might diversify a little bit out of that position, but that I think watching NVIDIA and watching kind of the dips being bought, just bring up if you could bring up that chart one more time, Joel, of the NVIDIA, where for a minute again it looked like a Head and Shoulders, where people have started to think, oh my God, this looks like a Head and Shoulders top, and then it fights out of it. So this is like the second or third time this year NVIDIA has kind of fought off that Head and Shoulders type pattern and has rallied back above the neckline, which I have drawn like around on my charts around like 132-ish. But just on that top right, where you could kind of see left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder, small break of the neckline, and then almost like keeping a beach ball underwater, move back up. So I'll be watching AMD because I think it's at a support level, but I'm going to stick with the stronger names for now.
Did you see where
at a certain point in time, valuation starts to become attractive on AMD as well. I mean, on a forward basis, I think we're getting under 30 times earnings here now. So, I mean, at a certain point in time, you're like, well, the growth story could eventually catch fire. And I do agree, John Lewis is saying in the chat here, this is a stock that could go red hot. It could. Like there's the potential, for a story here. The story is cool right now. Lisa Su needs to come through here. But, you're now down from $227 and the stock was trading 65, 70 times forward earnings down to 127. The stock is actually under 30 times forward earnings. So at a certain point in time, you're like, well, maybe it is, attractive here from a valuation perspective. From a momentum perspective, it doesn't have it. Like obviously it's been in a downtrend here for most of the year. You've got, the little check up here towards the end of the year here the last couple days. So it's starting to show a little bit of life. I'm probably sticking with it. I've been with it for a long time. I just believe in Lisa Su, but, from a trading perspective here, it's a prove me story.
They need a new story. That's what you just talked about is like they need something new. What if they came out with like, and again, who knows what they have in the works or something, but if they came out with a quantum chip, I think then you have something new. But it's just, for me, it's stale right now. They need to come out with something new that is going to drive investor enthusiasm, not just that it's down. Right. Not just, oh my God, and I get that too. Like when it gets cheap, it's important to look at it, but it needs to have that enthusiasm's not going to ride the stock back to like any close to new highs, is that the stock is cheap. We need to hear something new come out.
You want to hear my New Year's resolution?
Before you go to your New Year's resolution, go ahead, because I want to continue on that point, but are you changing the subject?
No.
Okay, go New Year's resolution. What's your New Year's resolution?
You know how I've been talking about how I had a clerk on the floor named Lisa Sue.
Yeah.
I am gonna officially find out. I've emailed.
You're still believing that you worked with Lisa Sue.
How much you want to
No
make?
way.
Do you want to make a bet?
There's probably a million Lisa Sues.
Do you want to
out
make
there.
a bet?
It's Lisa is a fairly common name and Sue is a fairly common.
Do you
name.
want to make a bet?
I'm going to say there's more than one Lisa Sue in the world.
I will bet you. Are you ready? You're gonna give me 5 to 1 odds
Just go and search her. Was she a clerk?
that she doesn't have that on her resume.
No, of course she doesn't.
Doesn't have that she worked with Joel.
That was. Do you know how long ago that was? All right, Dennis. I'm gonna throw this out there.
You've been talking about this for years.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out there. You're gonna give me. Well, how many Lisa Sues are there in the world?
There's probably 1,000 Lisa Sues.
Okay,
More.
you give me
There's more Lisa Sues than
1,000
Joel
to 1, and we'll bet $1,000. I'm doing it. You guys
Why do you
heard
have
it.
to bet on everything? You're like a
$1,000
compulsive gambler.
on this show.
He's such a compulsive gambler. He has to bet on everything. You watch a sporting event with him, and he has to bet on every single thing with you.
$1,000.
$1,000.
$1,000. You're so convinced, like this is like a Tesla for you.
I just don't. It would be on her resume. It would be on the web that she was.
No, it wouldn't. That was so long ago. Dennis, in or out?
Google doesn't forget.
No, I've looked on Google. Dennis, in or out? Do you want to? All right, I'll make you a deal.
You'll never live it down unless you get Lisa Sue on the show.
Only give me 500 to 1.
Let's get Lisa Sue on the show.
She won't come
interview her and ask her, did you work with this guy, Joel Elconin? This is the funniest story that just doesn't go away. It's like 2 years of talking about, maybe 5 years of talking about this.
How are you going to
prove it? She did not work on the floor with you. I'm sorry.
How are you
going to
verify
your dreams again?
Okay, can I just say what, Dennis? How about Tommy Tornabout says, give me 10 to 1.
But how's the bet end? Because you're never going to give it up. It's never going to be proven false.
No, because she will say this. She will.
She's not going to.
She'll say.
Okay, we got to grow this up, folks. We got to give us some likes here. We got to grow pre-market prep enough that Lisa Sue is going to come on this show for us. So we got to grow up to CNBC. We need to start getting 100,000 views a day. Like our show. Get up to 100,000 views. Lisa Sue will probably come on the show. We can reach out. I don't know if she's going to come on though.
Okay.
So,
AMD, I just want to mention Micron here real quick. I mean, that, we talked about after the earnings. Look where it went to. Nice technical setup there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Is it a buy, Christian, Micron? That's not the Christian Fromhertz stock. He like gap down on earnings, but so we shouldn't ask Christian. We know Christian's not going to be buying some gapping down on earnings. Chad, is Micron a buy? I could get interested. I sold it at I sold like 111 that the day before. I should rebuy. Should I rebuy it? Yes or no? Chat. Go. Should Denny rebuy Micron? Or
yes,
is this
put a stop in at the low. Buy it
again,
at 90.
This is not the Christian's going to say no. He's like, there's no reason to be buying stocks that are gapping down on earnings, Dennis. You're going to smack me across the face. He just thought you were drink a coffee. It's like, let Des go on this rant because he's wrong on this one.
What's your holding period? Like, are you looking to make money?
I hold till I make money. That's my holding period.
Oh boy!
If it goes down, it's long term. If it goes up, it was a trade.
Okay. All right. I did a rant that no one liked, so now we'll let Dennis do a rant that no one will like. What a deal in Nordstrom at 24.25.
Oh my gosh! They got a 42% premium. Those shareholders made out like bandits. Wah wah. That's what they said in the press release. Press release coming from the company, and Christian Fromhertz obviously broke the news for us yesterday on the show. But press release coming from the company and saying, for the Nordstrom family pays a 42% premium from Nordstrom shares. And I'm like, the stock closed at like 24. Let's go look where it actually closed. Closed at 24.53, and they paid what, 24.25?
Yeah.
And that's a 42% premium according to the Nordstrom family. So what they actually did was they said, when we started talking about this was, when the stock was down at its 52-week low on like March 17th at like the exact 52-week low of like $16.80. So they went to the 52-week low of the stock and said that's when the media started talking about it. But, lie detector test, we'll call them liars here because this is what it really is. I won't hold back. Lie detector test, which I have tweeted out. I don't know if you can show my Twitter feed, Joel, but I tweeted out it was coming from, and we've talked about this on this show for years, but just trying to grab it here. 2018.
And by the way,
so
as you're looking
New
this
Low
up,
Observer says August 13th, 2018. This was coming from Nordstrom. Nordstrom family has offered to take the company private at $50 a share. 2018, this has been talked about since. 6 years ago, folks. 6 years ago. Not 9 months ago. So they just cherry picked the 52-week low and throw out a press release and say, yeah, we paid a 42% premium. That is very disingenuous to do that because this has been rumored for years. Years. Joel's got it right there. 2018. Thank you to the person who tweeted that at me, which was New Low Observer. But I knew it because we've talked about it on the show for years. Nordstrom family interested. Remember, we always just discount these rumors because they've talked about it for years. So this wasn't just all of a sudden talked about at the 52-week low on March 17th. Media just didn't start talking about it then. So that is just a flat out lie. Anyways, it is what it is. It's not a 42% premium. The stock goes off the board, so they did pay it. I just felt the headline was very disingenuous for them to say that they paid a 42% premium when they really didn't. That's all.
It was interesting when I was reading the headline yesterday and I saw the 2450. I'm like, wait a minute, do I have the wrong symbol? I was like, that can't be the buyout.
You're expecting a premium.
Price. Yeah.
Especially when you read the headline and it says 42% premium. Well, the stock's down.
I'm like, what am I missing? Do I have the wrong symbol? What's going on?
Yeah. Anyways, that was just not the truth. That was not the truth. They went out and just cherry picked a spot. But, when we obviously they've been talked about 2018, 6 years ago, it's been talked about. So this has been talked about forever. But, it is what it is. They did buy it. So, kudos to the family for actually finally coming through and buying this thing. But it wasn't just all of a sudden started talking about on that date that in March that they're talking about, which was just happened to coincide with the 52-week low of the stock too.
It's actually,
or the 2024 year low, not 52-week low.
It's a 50% discount because at the in August of 2018,
they were talking about it at 50.
Well, must have been. When did they do it? August of 18? Because August of 18, it closed at 62.85.
Yeah, they were saying they'd buy it all at 50, so they're trying to put a floor under it. Obviously, that floor continued to leak there. So, we know Kohl's, Nordstrom's, they've all talked. So Nordstrom's off the boards. I think actually shareholders are doing okay here, to be honest with you, because I'm worried that Nordstrom's was like, Zero. On this death spiral here. Obviously, Kohl's and Macy's have not done good. We know Nordstrom's has closed some stores, all of them, I believe, in Canada here. So I think, shareholders probably good that they got out here. I just felt like, why put that 42% premium number in there? I just felt it was disingenuous. That's all.
Put it on sale, like like it's a holiday sale. We're gonna take 50% off, and it's a Nordstrom rack sale. There you go.
There you go. So okay, that's the Nordstrom story here. Again, back to holiday trade. What happens during holiday trade? And we do have short hours today, folks, too. Do not forget that we close today at 1 o'clock. After hour session will go from 1 to 5. So it actually kind of feels like a normal day if you're trading after hour session as well. But in holiday trade, we know stories, kind of drive the bus to a certain extent, and retail stories especially. And I just want to talk Rumble from yesterday. We mentioned it yesterday, obviously, with the news, RUM. But it had just a continuation move, like an incredible continuation move. The investment from Tether and the stock basically almost doubled yesterday at one point in time. These are big moves here. One thing to consider is that when you are in holiday trade, when retail is driving the bus, and it really is here right now, not a lot of institutions at the desk. There's some, but not as many as they normally are. These stories, these headlines, on retail darlings can really drive price. And RUM was really driven yesterday, not only because, it's, retail stock, but because probably less liquidity out there right now. And just the fact that there's nothing else to trade. So the algos are all over whatever is moving. So that can obviously exaggerate moves as well. So it was a big move for Rumble yesterday. Is the move continue here, Christian? What are your thoughts on RUM?
Well, I didn't really mention much, when we discussed it yesterday, I didn't really even spend that much time or take that much attention to it. But I think you're making a really good point here, is that, and when you've got thin trading, you get a story like this, it has a chance to really kind of, take off. So by chance, if we see something like that again today, I don't really, it's pretty quiet so far to start the day, but don't discount some of these stories, because you're just trading in such a thin environment that you can see some outsized moves. Will I be trading Rumble today, or doing anything with it? No. But I think really, not just today, but going through to the end of the year, we get one of these story stocks like this, it will have the propensity to kind of have some legs to it because of that thinner volume.
You know what? Also, this fit the bill, Dennis, and this goes right along with what you were saying, like the retail trade. I think there's a decent short interest, over 20%,
They
25.
all retail traders love a good short
Love
interest.
it. They love
Love
short it. Love it. Oh, short interest. We're gonna pound it. If you would have found my rule, which I don't, because I don't trade this thing, as always, is like if you take out the pre-market high, get the hell out of the way. I mean, that's and it was quite a bit off the pre-market high for the regular session. I can remember looking at this and going back. I think the pre-market trading, the high was like near 11, and then it opened up at $10, went to 966, and then came back through that open. Woo! If you would have had a buy stop there, you never would even look back. Volume goes, I wonder if anybody had an inkling on this, because on the 19th it traded 2.8 million. On the 20th it traded 10 million, which is maybe its biggest volume day ever.
Wow.
That's weird, because the news came out after hours on Friday, so they wouldn't include that volume. That's a stinker there. And then yesterday it traded
It does
86
include that volume,
million.
Joel.
No,
It
it
does.
doesn't, right?
The after hours, yeah, it includes on the day. The after
Oh, it
hours volume
does?
include, yeah, it
Okay.
does. Yeah.
Okay. So that's
So
why.
so maybe it was fine. And it wasn't like really going up into it, but I mean sometimes we do see clearly charts where
Okay.
stocks are going up on higher volume and then all of a sudden a press release comes out and you're like, oh. I don't think this was one of those cases.
Okay. Close is very important today. I can't give you any level, but if you're looking for more, I mean, first of all, you're a ways away from that high of 1463. So that's a 2-star automatically, just because it was yesterday's high. And then see if you can get a bid here at 13 to see if people are willing to buy the close after that day yesterday. So 1303, that's my big number. We're coming up here. Durable goods, Dennis.
Go wide.
Durable goods. Durable goods.
Durable goods was yesterday.
It
And
was
Oh.
yesterday?
Oh, we don't have anything.
yeah,
We're
Wait,
losing track of days.
my sheet is wrong then.
What do we have?
get a
Do we
new
have
sheet.
anything?
We just have Philly Fed non-manufacturing. That's at 8:30,
No.
and then just Richmond data at 10
No.
o'clock. We do have a bond. They're sneaking a bond auction in today. Usually,
That'll go well.
yeah, exactly.
No institutional traders at their desks. That'll
Usually
go really
we
well.
get the bond auction at 1 o'clock. They're doing a special Christmas Eve bond auction for all you bond enthusiasts at 11:30 today. So wow, exciting! 5-year bond auction 11:30 today.
Okay, question coming from the chat, and it's a good question for us for the next 5 minutes. Let's throw it to Christian first. What is our Santa stocks? Santa Claus rally. We're gonna have Jeff Hirsch on here at 9 o'clock to talk about Santa Claus rally. This actually officially is the first day of the Santa Claus rally. What's your Santa number one Santa stock, Christian? What are you looking at?
Number one Santa stock.
Throwing you right under the bus.
I think that, well, first of all, the AMD, we were just talking about story stocks, and like
Yep.
I think AMD could run a little bit because it is a big retail store. There's more retail involved in AMD than anything else. So I would be watching that one for today for but for overall, what else am I looking at for today? Just I'm watching just for continuation in the chips. I want to see Broadcom really kind of kick up. I also, so again, this is not Christmas, like a Christmas trade, but I'm also watching with the chip names when they tend to go. Watch some of the power companies. I started a position
Yeah.
yesterday in VST. That
Ooh.
stock hasn't done much recently. It's been kind of in the doghouse a little bit the last couple weeks. So I looked at VST.
I
And
like that.
I'm going to mention what I see somebody mentioning dogs of the Dow. I do have a dogs of the Dow trade for you guys that saw some option activity yesterday. And well, there's 30 stocks obviously in the Dow. Any idea like one of the ones that nobody's really cares about or really kind of lost and low interest? Any guesses between the two of you?
Man,
Pharma. I'll give you. It's a pharma name that saw big call activity yesterday.
pharma, big call
Like,
activity in the
What's
Dow.
what's a
J&J?
J&J saw June 155 calls trade yesterday, about 12,000 of them. So I don't know why they decided to trade these. It's about a $5 million bet going out into
Yeah.
June, and I have to say, like that's a dog of the Dow stock
That's a
right
dog.
Dog. Bow, wow, wow.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yay. Look at that thing, man.
So
Holy
Yeah.
mackerel.
that's one to kind of keep on your, if you're looking for something that's beaten up that nobody cares about, that one saw almost 12,000 contracts in one print. June 155 calls yesterday.
I mean, the talc issues are still overhanging the stock as well. We don't know if the talc's ever going to go away. There was a reason why I was bearish the stock up at 170 and 175 this year, because I'm like, this stock's getting to be a point of fully valued, and they got the talc issue hanging over them. Now you've sold off substantially, but that issue is still there, and that's why I just stay away from this name, because I don't know when that headline goes. And obviously they think they're going to get it solved, and they got a plan to get it solved, and then it falls apart. And then they got another plan to get it solved, and it never seems to fully go away. So I mean, that hangs over it just like the earplugs hang over 3M as well. So I mean, I don't know. I think the stock's gotten to a point where it's cheap enough, but this is definitely not a Christian Fromhertz stock though either.
No.
So
Yeah,
that's
oh,
dog of
yeah.
the Dow, like Christian trying to call a
Oh,
turnaround here.
a spade here. Yeah, Christian.
This is not your kind of
moving
stock.
averages here that you can look at. Maybe the COVID low. No, I'm just joking on that. But we have talking about 2025 and talking about stocks for the future here. We got a special guest waiting in the background here. We're going to bring a nice smoothing voice here instead of our yelling at each other. So here we go. We got our first guest of the show. Okay, here she is.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Christian.
Hey, how are you, Mish?
Great. I think this might be the first time we've ever actually been face to face.
Yes, very exciting. You're one of my favorite follows on Twitter or X, whatever you call it these days. So
I was going to say the same about you. And of course, you guys, love you guys. It's been how many years have we been talking together, Joel and Dennis? Oh my God.
A lot of years you've been coming on, Mish. Like, we've been doing this show, I believe this is our 11th year, and you were one right near the beginning with us here. So probably getting close to 10 years, Mish, you've been coming on the show. So thank you very much for all the excellent market commentary that you've given us.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for supporting me through all these years. And Christian, are you now part of the show, or should I not be asking that question?
Until these guys kick me off. I'm on double probation right now. So as long as
Okay, community service.
Yeah.
No, Christian's going to be. He's joined us here since November, and he's going to be continuing on with us. Mish Schneider, Chief Market Strategist over there at MarketGauge. But before we get to your 2025 picks, and this is like a holiday show, one reason that you're one of my favorite guests is because we have something in common, and we were both on the floor. Well, I wasn't. You're at the Comex. We always go for floor stories. I haven't asked you one in a while. You're
not going to ask her if she worked with Lisa Sue, are you?
Dennis, you're lucky you're not with me right now, because I would flip you upside down. I'm telling you, I'm right on this. You better take that bet. But anyways, go ahead. You got one good floor story for us?
Oh my God, you should have prepped me for this, because I had 14 years there. So I have to zoom in on a story I haven't already told. Let me see.
I don't think you've told one in a while. How about How about the meanest someone was to you in the pit?
Oh, well, there may be some X-rated comments I have to
Ooh.
bleep out here. But actually, it was a day kind of like this would be, half a day, hardly anybody there, guys sitting around the pit. This was actually in NYMEX, not in COMEX. And everybody's going to go, what do we do now? What do you do now? And this guy, and he was a pretty high up in terms of, he was like a managing guy in the whole NYMEX situation. So it was shocking. Said, I know we can have Mish give us all fill the blanks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
That was horrible. That was the most horrible thing that ever happened in 14 years. And I left the pit crying, and I actually had quite a few friends there. So this one guy in particular was about 6'7", trader in the pit, came running after me, and he said, do you want me to beat him up? And I said, no. And I kind of got myself together and went back. But yeah, otherwise it was usually just love. I had a great time down there.
Was it Greg Weldon, the 6'7" trader?
No, oh God, his name, I have to think, it'll come to me. Jack. His name was Jack.
Did that person get written up?
No, I never took him to, I just let it go. When you're one of the few females, you really have to pick your battles. And everybody was really mortified by it. There was no need to take it
That
any
is,
further.
boy, oh boy. And I thought there were scumbags at the Merc. I mean, holy mackerel. But, all right, let's get into 2025. And you got, yeah. What was the year of the Dragon? Was that 23?
No, that was 24. We're coming in the year of the Dragon. We're going into the Snake. And yeah, and a lot of people don't talk about this. This is one of the reasons why I love talking about this, because it's been very insightful through the years. I mean, not only do you have like the animal itself and what that could possibly mean, not just for yourself personally, like if you were born the year of the Snake, there's certain things that you should know about, things that might have tendencies to help protect you, or things that you might get very well. Generally, the Chinese view the year of the Snake as a very prosperous year. It's also a wood snake and a yin versus yang, which means the last time we had a year of a wood yin snake was 1965. And that also is, you talked about Hirsch there before, and I know he's coming on. Well, one of the things that he talked about in his book, the dad, not Jeffrey, was the number 5, right? So you've got mid-decade, the last 13 to 14 decades, starting from 1885, have been up years. And 1965 was an up year as well. So basically, though, it was a downturn in the beginning of the year, and it came back at the end of the year for minor gains. And I think if you put that all together, and I'm sort of speed talking here, but if you put that all together, really basically what you can see here is probably what's going to evolve. Is we may say have some shakiness for the first half of the year, but we also could have a Fed pivot potentially, which could guide us up and maybe with 3-4% gains by the end of the year. And that's kind of like all fits with Chinese astrology, with the Case-Shiller, and with the number 5 theory.
What about inflation?
Well, that's always an X factor. I think that we'll continue to see pockets of inflation in certain areas. I think food is certainly something we have to keep an eye on, because of not only geopolitics and weather, but also what happens with some policies in terms of tariffs. Will we have labor issues because of deportation? Or are we going to have some kind of global recession? We don't know yet, but I definitely would not dismiss inflation because it stayed sticky. I mean, listen, our own Jerome Powell was like all about it. Which I thought was kind of bizarre, because he didn't talk data dependent this time. He talked strictly about his fear of inflation, and that's why he was going to kind of, what do they call that, a hawkish cut. So yeah, but let's make it simple, Joel. Right? What do we look at for inflation? Number 1, we look at how the silver relates to the gold. Right now, gold is still outperforming silver, not a big concern. 2, we look at the dollar. Well, the dollar's over 108, not too concerning. Starts breaking down under 108, maybe we start paying attention. And 3rd, if we want to talk about food, we can simply look at one food item, sugar. And right now, sugar is still holding up. But if it fails, then I think we can sort of put that aside. If it breaks out over, let's say, 22, 23 cents, I think we've got concerns. So I just kind of watch that as my best indication for inflation.
Mish, let's talk EVs. 2025, 2024 was not the year of EV. Tesla did well, but so many other companies struggled with it. You know, we actually saw Ford backing off. They're going more hybrids, you know, some of the big three backing off from EVs. Lithium stocks didn't perform well. It wasn't the year. Does 2025 change things? Is 2025 the year of EV? Do these stocks start to make a comeback? Or is now just the hybrid the new way to go?
Well, I think that it could make a comeback, and here's why. But not every company, by the way. I think you have to be very selective, which is why I've sort of been picking on Rivian, because Rivian has had some really great fundamentals lately in terms of money they've gotten from the government, in terms of their deal with Volkswagen. I know that they're trying to come out with a smaller, cheaper version of their car. Car and Driver magazine gave them amazing reviews. And everything is made in America. And I think that's going to be the key. You know, what's so interesting about what Musk said recently is that 99% of the people who drive EVs never go back to a gas car. And if they're going to be more competitively priced, and the tax credit could or could not be a factor, we'll see what happens, what Trump does with that. But I do believe that, and Musk believes the same thing, that eventually gas cars will be the way of the dinosaur. Hybrid may stick around for a while, as there's still an infrastructure issue with EVs. I know where we live, we get out of Santa Fe and Albuquerque, you know, you don't want to go driving on an EV where you may not be able to find a place to charge. That'll change in time. So I think we have really good low prices here. If you're looking at something like Rivian at trading between, let's say, $13 and $15, we get out of that range. I don't see any reason why we can't have a decent move there up in 2025.
Would you touch any other ones like Lucid and some of the smaller ones, or are you just sticking with Rivian?
I'm just sticking with Tesla, of course. Hey, Dennis, did we not talk about Tesla last time I was on?
We have, and Tesla's been unbelievable. I mean, it feels a little bit overdone at this point in time, just short term, but the story here is not going away.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's got everything hitting it, right? It's a Musk stock. It also gives us a little bit of insight into what might happen with China and whether or not Trump is going to be as tough as he says. It's an EV, you know, it's got the software. And by the way, Rivian can use Tesla charging stations. Just thought that was good too.
What about other stocks in 2025? We're kind of going into your preview here, 2025.
I got so many. Right. So I'm looking at your comments. Usually I don't put them up, but people are asking me about coffee. Yeah, I mean, these are things that already made explosive moves, right? Coffee, orange juice, cocoa, you know, so I think you have to watch the sugar in the commodity space. And let's talk about gold and silver. I'm not giving up on them. I still think they have another hurrah. They're not done. So I think as long as silver holds about $27 an ounce, I don't see any reason why it can't get to 50. And we don't even have to go through the reasons why. Gold holding over 2,600, you know, maybe it struggles a little bit to get over 28, but if it does, could it go to 3,000? Absolutely. Moving on to other areas, you cannot dismiss the AI situation. It's going to continue. I'm just broadening out a little bit more into some other areas of AI, which is why, by the way, Ulta, we've talked about Ulta, right? The vanity trade. Ulta looks really good on the chart right here. And now they're doing AI where you can get an image of yourself that looks exactly like you. And then you can put on different hairstyles, different colors, different makeup. You know, this is that we to me sort of trend. I think you keep looking in that space. I think quantum physics looks good. I have Kratos on my list. I have IBM on my list. Obviously, Google is probably the kingpin of all of that. What else?
Mish, you mentioned, I saw you mention on Twitter, Chewy as a retail pick. And you also mentioned, you know, you're going through, you mentioned Ulta as well, you know, about the retail stocks, and the XRT chart really surprises me. You mentioned that you've got a couple names in there that you're looking at. Chewy's one of them.
Yeah, so I'm so glad, Christian, you brought up XRT, because last time I was on, Dennis and Mitch and I talked about the idea of the fact that it had been in this 11-month consolidation between 70 and 80, and it broke out, right? But then, of course, we've had this massive correction, but look where it's correcting to. It's really kind of holding between 79 and 80. So just at that ETF, with the January effect, and everybody's got a different way to look at it. I saw Hirsch looks at 5 days. Some people look at 1 day. We look at 10 days, 10 trading days. If we break out of that range, I think you got to go in. And in that XRT space, Chewy is definitely probably one of my top, because Chewy almost is a recession-proof type of situation. People will always take care of their pets, no matter what the economic condition. But they've also made some great changes in the company. They are getting more into veterinarian practice. They're getting more into pharmaceuticals for pets. Yeah, they're expanding. I mean, and they are known to be the #1 customer service online for pet products. So I think at, what's it trading about, $34? That stock seems cheap to me. And I would continue to look, like I said, at some of those stocks that could benefit from the vanity trade, whether it's going to be something like Urban Outfitters, because as people start to look more towards athletic wear, more skincare, and beauty, like that's why I like Ulta, or I still like Elf. And so those are all kind of trading within that space.
Mish, real quick, just to XRT. I mean, I was on with you on October 28th. I put the Mish rate in here on the monthlies. Remember that?
I do.
Yes. Yep. That's the date, October 28th. I'm going to start doing that more. That's another New Year's resolution. And boom, you popped up. You made a double top on the monthly. Now you're coming back down to support here. So you talk about old resistance, new support. There you go. There's a nice setup for you at XRT. Mish, we only got a few minutes left here, but let's talk about the Modern Family here. And we really had some sectors misbehaving.
Yes.
We really did. They were naughty, and they're probably not going to get any Christmas gifts. Let's talk about a few of those and the prospects for them in 2025.
Right. Well, the report that we're referring to, by the way, is going to be available, and you'll be able to look at charts. And there's a 23 and an 80-month chart, right? So everything except for KRE really has set up well in terms of those charts. So let's talk about Grams, right, which is our small caps. You just mentioned Grandma, XRT. So important. I mean, that's really got to hold up. There's your indicator, Joel. If it holds 79.80, starts rallying and gets through that 85, close your eyes and jump in, right? That's been the expression. With IWM right now, some people are in the camp that they don't matter and it's all about the Mag 7 and what they do. I'd say I agree with that to a degree, but small caps have to stay in the game. And right now, they also may have a massive double top, not monthly, but from 2021 to 2024. You know, if they hold 217, great. It got right there. And they start to move up, great. They get through 245, unbelievable. Could chop around for a while, but you don't want to see them break down. Transportation already broke down. That has to really hang in there right now, because what does that say? I mean, you know, there's still a theory about Dow, you know, being obviously transportation. And we know we had some news with FedEx. They broke up into their freight company and others. So, you know, we're seeing some struggles there. Semiconductors, though, right now she's coming back. My sister Semiconductors gets through 260 in SMH. That looks good. That tells you it's all still going to be all about growth, but how much do we have? We'll have to look at earnings in the first quarter. Who did I leave out? KRE, I think could also spell some trouble. We got to watch there. People think the banking and the financials could do really great in 2025. You got to watch those regionals. And of course, my dear little brother, biotechnology.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
holy mackerel.
I know, but you know what? 130 is such massive support. I haven't given up yet. That's the, you know, that's the talk about the dogs of the Dow. That's been a dog. But you know, RFK Jr. put a big kibosh on it because everybody got scared. But I wouldn't worry about that too much. I would keep my eye on that space because it could surprise. And I left out one other member, Bitcoin. And that's really interesting because I didn't expect it to break 95. So 95, 89 right now, massive support. Or that could surprise if that breaks down. Otherwise, you know, we could still see another rocket ship in January if it hangs in there.
Okay, Mish Schneider, Chief Market Strategist at MarketGauge, a longtime guest on the show. Mish, you covered a lot of stocks here. We appreciate it. I know you have a busy media day. I'm glad you started out with the best and the brightest, and we'll be dialing you up again in January. Thanks, Mish.
Oh, thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you all. I look forward to 2025, and thank you.
Thanks, Mish.
All right.
Thanks, Mish.
Okay. Where do we want to go? We got 10 minutes. We got Jeff Hirsch coming on from the
Well,
Traders.
Christian gave us some 2025 picks and some Santa Claus stocks here, Joel. So I'm going to throw it to you. Do you want to give us a Santa Claus stock? So that's a rally for the next 7 days, or do you want to give us a 2025 pick? We'll let you decide.
I got a stock that I've always hated.
Okay.
And I thought I was thinking about buying it a while ago.
Okay.
And I did it, and I'm glad. And we talked about premiums. This is just a sneaky suspicion, and I know you shot it down. I just don't know what's going to happen with this X. The deal fell through. I know you pointed out
the deal hasn't fallen through. The deal is still more bad news last night. Deals, obviously, the deal is going to be tough. It's tough to get this deal done. But what's your play?
I don't know. I don't know. Just like a news play. I just think something that, someone else is going to come back in at it. I mean, all these other stocks have been. So I've always hated the earnings. The earnings have been, I know they're so cyclical. The Nucor looks like hell. I just, I don't know. It's not a sexy pick at all. But I don't know. I was just thinking about it. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see if it gets back down to that area it was before. I mean, if this economy's ripping, everything's going so well, we're building absolutely everywhere. I mean, why not steal? And Cleveland Cliffs is another one. I know you're on the other side of this one.
Yeah, I am. And I'll tell you why. Because when I look at U.S. Steel, and I've said this about a couple months ago, I said U.S. Steel in the low 30s is probably a no-brainer because Cleveland Cliffs is sniffing around and they probably come in, if the stock starts going down into the 20s, like 28.9, 28, then they start getting interested too. And we know, probably administration is going to be a lot more, inclined to approve a U.S. company buying U.S. steel. Well, now things have changed. And this is why we're in a market that's dynamic and new information continues to come in. What has changed is we've basically had a collapse in steel stocks. Nucor, best of breed. I'll say it's best of breed. Own it. It has been an epic disaster coming in, substantially. You would think, with the Trump administration that this stock would turn around. I do think Nucor is going to be one of my picks for 2025 to turn it around. But, that's to be discussed later. Not a Santa Claus stock. Cleveland Cliffs, which was going to be the suitor potentially for U.S. Steel, continues to go down as well. So I'm not sure they're still in the position here to come and buy, U.S. Steel as the stock continues to come down here. They're not in as strong a financial position as they were a year ago. So, I mean, that maybe takes them off. And if you eliminate and say there's no deal, Biden shoots it down, the deal is dead, you'd think, okay, well, U.S. Steel goes back to like 27, 28. I don't think so in the case now because the other steel stocks are down so much. I think you start thinking about lower 20s for U.S. Steel if it comes down. And that's just because of the recent collapse in steel stocks. So U.S. Steel's come down. We know there's a deal on the table for over $50. The deal goes, great. You make yourself 20 points. I don't think they're going to approve that deal. I don't think the Biden administration is going to approve that deal. I definitely don't think the Trump administration is going to approve that deal. So I don't think the deal gets done. And I think, U.S. Steel could go lower. The wild card, Christian, which you brought up is, maybe Biden approves it before Trump gets in because there's no way Trump's approving this. What are your thoughts, Christian?
Yeah, exactly. Like it seems like the politicians like to bicker amongst themselves, and like wouldn't this kind of rile things up a little bit if they decide at the last second to try to approve something, because I think that there is a deadline coming. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm watching Bitcoin take off here. Maybe Santa is arriving a little bit early here before the open. I'm watching Bitcoin take off. Bitcoin is up about 3% right now. I'm also watching NASDAQ futures kind of take off a little bit here too.
Yeah.
So, Santa seems to be arriving a little bit early. Bitcoin. Okay, Joel, can you bring up that the Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin futures chart, if you don't mind? So we got a
you
little
can
bit
see
of
on the left the pop that Christian's talking about here. In the last few minutes, even especially, was popping. But overnight, we've been moving here overnight in Bitcoin.
Is this a dip to buy? Do you guys like the and I mean it's not really sorry, I shouldn't really say a dip, but it's off the highs. Is this an entry point that you guys are looking at?
I don't think the story goes away in 2025. I think the story continues. I think the new administration supports Bitcoin. I think there's a lot of reasons to own Bitcoin. I'm a hodler. I have some in the long-term account. Would I consider adding to it? Yeah, maybe. Could you add to you'd love MSTR to come down like another $100 where it's only trading like with 100% premium to NAV instead of a 200% premium to NAV. Like that's obviously the levered play on Bitcoin, and it obviously moves as well. But I think Bitcoin story stays, I think it's a big story in 2025. So I don't think it goes away. So I think it goes higher.
If that's okay, so let's say that story continues, because I agree. I think the administration is going to be, definitely doing things with Bitcoin. What's your play? Like, what's your indirect play? Obviously, Bitcoin futures, IBIT is the direct play. Any indirect plays that you guys are
maybe
thinking?
Hood, maybe Robinhood, company that's just done everything well. Again, valuation stretched here, but the company's just firing on all cylinders. I don't know when they're going to allow you to start shorting stocks, but that may be the next thing. But I guess the group is so anti-shorts. They're the people who obviously have Robinhood accounts are so anti-short. Maybe that's another reason that they don't do it. But I mean, Robinhood, Vlad's just done a lot of things very well. And, he's probably going to continue to do things well in 2025. If Bitcoin goes higher, Hood probably goes higher. So that would be an indirect benefit play from for Robinhood. Some people say Square as Bitcoin play. I don't think it's that much of a Bitcoin play here anymore. It was at one time linked to it. I don't think it is as much anymore. But Square is just an interesting setup. I mean, we've been in the doghouse for a long time with that. It really rallied in November. And it's kind of checked back here a bit in December. So Square actually is interesting for me. And I'd maybe be interested in taking a shot in 2025 in Square.
Just looking at the Bitcoin chart here real quick. I mean, just like with the rest of the stocks and the rest of the market here, right? Robinhood did get futures, I think, Mervin knew. I always like these kind of moves, right? You got to almost 109K. Pull back to 92K, right? 17,000 break, little bit of a little bit of a retracement of that move. If this was the break to buy, I mentioned the double bottom yesterday at 92.5. You're away from that now, but why not go back up and test that 100K level off this? So that's what I'd be looking at in Bitcoin, and then establishing a sustained bid. It did that for a couple days over 100K before it broke down again. So classic, just big move up, a classic pullback, shakeout, and then a little bit of a retracement. So let's not be looking at in Bitcoin here. We got our guest in the background.
Yeah, let's bring Jeff in. I'm ready.
Holy mackerel, man! You people are getting your money's worth today. We're going double guest here on pre-market prep. All right, let's add him to the stage. You are our extra special guest. You guys all know him. He's Jeff. He's the Stock Traders Almanac. Jeff, how you doing today?
Great, man. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're having fun. We're talking a lot of stocks here. We're talking about the Santa Claus rally and
Bitcoin action I heard you guys talking about.
Yeah. And who is more of an expert on the Santa Claus rally than your dad?
Nobody. He invented it.
So talk about the Santa Claus rally, because everybody gets this wrong, but the official start is actually today. Correct, Jeff?
Yes, you have me on at the opportune time. Actually, I'm gonna shout out a couple people, Ryan, Dietrich, and JC. I've really been getting it right. I mean, they're friends of mine, and I've been putting out these posts every year, like repetitively. We do it like a handful of times or more just to tell people what it really is. Everyone gets excited that this is trading rally, and it's really an indicator. Market generally goes up the last 5 days of the year and the first 2 of the new year. It's a sort of positive feeling. There's new money coming to the market. People are allocating capital, and a lot of people are off the desks. And it's the pros in there picking up bargains off of tax loss selling or profit taking. It often happens, as we saw this year in the beginning of December. And as Yale, my late father, as the phrase he coined, man, if Santa Claus fails to call, bears may come to Broad and Wall. And for the new folks out there, Broad and Wall is the intersection of Broad Street and Wall Street, where the New York Stock Exchange, though it's kind of a TV studio now, still exists. Was down there a couple of weeks ago. So it's really the beginning of our January indicator trifecta. And we're getting some flack about the small caps not rallying. We're concerned about it. This kind of runs with the January effect of small caps outperforming. And the market's definitely having some pain, overvalued pains and other issues going on here. So it's important as much as any year for Santa Claus to show up. And go ahead.
What are your thoughts here? Okay, so Santa Claus rally last 5 days, first 2 days, so we're entering that period here today. What are your thoughts just into 2025? Because this has been a weird type of year where the S&P is very strong, tech just, relentlessly bid higher, stocks like Tesla, Nvidia driving the bus. But you've had this value trade, small cap trade, really lagging behind. Does that continue in 2025? Like, what are your thoughts here? Or do we get, a reversal where maybe some of these laggards can become leaders? What are your thoughts, Jeff?
I'm looking for some rotation, but let's just think about it for a second. The Dow and the big blue chips and the small caps supposed to be lagging. Yeah, they're lagging tech and S&P, but average return wise, they're not doing too bad. I mean, yes, the Russell has not made a new high since 2021. That's trouble. We're looking for some broadening of the market, but we got to read the numbers. I'm not seeing it so much yet. I mean, breadth has been back and forth. We've had some upticks and decliners and new lows and drops and advancers and new highs. So, I'm not forecasting as much of upside as I did this year. I mean, I've been bullish for the past 2 years. We were bearish in 22. I've got some more, average type gains. I'm looking at 8 to 12% based upon the post-election year, patterns that I'm looking at, fifth years of presidencies and the recent, historical patterns are aggregate cycle of fifth years and all years and post-election years. Post-election years has been the best year since 85, believe it or not. But there's definitely going to be a lot more chop. I'm looking for some weakness in Q1, again in Q3, and there's going to be some growing pains. I mean, we're all wondering what's going to happen with this new administration and with this, thin majorities for the Republicans in Congress, especially the House. But, we'll need that rotation. I still think the leaders are going to lead, though. I mean, somebody just put out like the value, what you get with QQQ. I mean, you're getting, Microsoft, Google, and Apple and Tesla. You're getting all these stocks. That's still where the the futures. That's still what the big boom is. That's the trend here, and that's part of the AI tech boom. That's goes with my big long-term forecast, the super boom.
Hey Jeff, great to have you on the show, and very timely, which is wonderful. So last year, those days the last 5 trading days of the year and the first 2, it was a little bit of a fizzle. I think for the Plus rally was down in whole about 1% last year. It got off to a nice start at the towards the end of December, but the first couple days of January were a little bit of a letdown. I think it caught people off guard. Do you think that we're going to get another situation like that where you mentioned that we might see a little bit of weakness in the beginning of the year? Is that something that you're also thinking?
I'm concerned about it. Yeah, I mean, January's become a bit of a profit-taking type of month, especially later in the month. It's those first couple of days. That's why the Santa Claus rally. That's why they're part of the Santa Claus rally. That's where people really are showing what their outlooks are and how they're feeling about the market, especially the institutions and the traders. So I'm not going to tell you that I'm expecting it to happen. I'm really watching it and seeing if it does. I mean, this is an indicator. It's not like a rally I'm trying to trade. I mean, we had our seasonal buy signals back in October. I'm in IBIT. I'm in all, things have come up and down a lot, but this is not a trade. This is an indicator. I mean, it's really something people need to understand that, oh, I'm going to make money on the Santa Claus rally. No, you're going to see if the Santa Claus rally indicator tells you that the bull market is still got legs, it's still strong. So it's really more important to just watch it.
Great point. What about Bitcoin in 2025? Because obviously we got the Trump administration coming. They look like they support Bitcoin here. It's been, a great year for it in 2024. We've recently pulled back here. What are your thoughts on crypto?
I mean, I was a skeptic for a long time. I did a seasonal study on it a couple of years ago, actually about a year and a half ago. Came out in September 23, around the seasonal low for Bitcoin. And amazingly, it does have a bit of a stock market seasonality. Starts a little bit earlier. I don't think we're going to go to the moon. I mean, we're already up, I don't think we're going to Mars per se. I think we can get to the moon. We're already up there in outer space. We've pulled back some. As I said, I'm long quite a bit ago, back in late October. But I think it's kind of maybe a sell in the news a little bit. I think we rally maybe up towards 150 Bitcoin, by the spring, the April-May period. But it's starting to become a little bit of a crowded trade. Everybody's in there. I think the ETFs own most of it now, that and MicroStrategy. And it's I mean, how high can it go? People are throwing out numbers like $250,000. I'm not convinced. I think it's starting to mature, and there's still upside. I mean, the seasonal monthly patterns that I'm looking at, November was right on point at about 40%, right on the averages. There's a couple of more months like that further out, April and May. But I don't think it can continue to be the magnitude of gains as it has. I mean, you've seen over time the initial moves in the first few years before we got the CME futures were these like 1,000% moves. The timing and patterns have still remained the same, but the amplitude is calmed down. And I think that continues to trend, especially now that we're getting into we're now in the fourth halving, right?
Talking about crowded trades, what about the mega caps text trade? Because now Kevin Gordon was tweeting this out yesterday. I didn't realize it's gotten this high. The 10 largest stocks in the S&P now represent 39.9% of the index. So you have 490 making up 60%, and you have the top 10 making up 40%. That number, to give you perspective, 10 years ago was only 18%. So when people were saying, oh, it's crowded then, well, it's gotten a lot more crowded here now. We know it's been the Apples and the Microsofts, that have really led the charge here. Does this continue, or do you actually see, that catch-up trade? Maybe we're just too crowded in these mega cap names.
I think we're getting into a bit more of a stock pickers market. I think you want to be in those names. I'm only in them through the ETFs. I don't think I can get any edge on these individual stocks because everybody else is out there. So I'm looking for stocks that are under Wall Street's radar, that are undervalued, and those are the kinds of stocks we recommend to our subscribers. But you want to be looking for other opportunities. There's some of the ancillary trades. There's a few other sectors that are out there. I mean, I picked up the XES and the copper miners just recently, a seasonal trade, a couple of ideas there. But I mean, I'm only in the big caps with the Qs that I own. And I think you got to spread it out. But we're in a major technological macro trend. And that is led by a handful of companies. Historically, we had the Nifty 50 back in the late 60s, the Polaroid years and that sort of stuff. That's something that happens in the market. You've got groups, small groups of companies that are really leading innovation. And that's what we're seeing. And this AI, tech trend is at the early middle innings. It's kind of like the Windows 95 period back in the early 90s. So you got to be in them, but I think it's time to spread out and look for other opportunities that are also, the ancillary offshoot energy producing, utility producing, cooling infrastructure for all those AI data centers. And that's where we search for our ideas.
Hey, Jeff, one last question from my side. Do you subscribe to the the dogs of the Dow. I know that we've got this kind of seasonal trade that's coming up, and it's one of those things that I try to pay attention to a little bit too, because I stick with trends, but I also try to be aware of some of these seasonal type trades. You mentioned XES, right? Which has been that's a dog right there. Is there anything? So
I bought
number
it low.
one, how long do you think that trade lasts? And is there anything else that you're looking at just as like one of those quick trades?
We used to do a Beating the Down newsletter with Michael O'Higgins and the late John Downs. So I think there's something there. You want to, I mean, whether you do it in January or any other time of the year, it's fine. But looking at the Dow stocks that are, yielding a lot, meaning they're out of favor, but they've still, got that dividend that they're consistent. Is it probably a better value trade than just buying value, as it is? I think it's a fine seasonal and just strategy. The other values I'm seeing out there are coming in different places. I mean, I mentioned I doubled down on my biotech. The IBB is the one that I hold. XBI is just as good. I think that's something that got a bit of a hit from the RFK Jr. healthcare scare there. Still struggling a bit, but you got to be spread out. I mean, there's opportunities in small caps. And as I said, some of those companies that are supporting the data centers, all of the energy. I'm looking to get into nuclear. I wish I was in it a little bit earlier, but I think there's something going on there. I think it's part of the solution to our energy needs and also climate, believe it or not, because it's a bit cleaner. I know there's still some phobias about nuclear. But I think the data center and energy and cooling and infrastructure and that whole area is I think where we're going to find some value.
All right, Jeff. Let's talk about the Stock Traders Almanac. Mike France in the chat said he gives it to himself as a Christmas present every year. Just give us a brief description on it. And I know you don't sell single copies online, but what can people do to get the Stock Traders Almanac for 2025? As you're talking about it here,
Sure.
I am going to drop a link in the YouTube chat.
Thanks, Joel. I mean, it's as old as me. My father started it in the 60s. This is the 58th annual edition. It's a post-election year edition. You can get it wherever books are sold. I know Amazon's got it. If you reach out, go to stocktradersalmanac.com and reach out to me. We sell it for $40 single copies. But it really is part of our subscription service. So you get the Almanac Investor newsletter, some of the stock picks and ETFs I've been talking about here, and the monthly strategies and outlooks and all the different seasonal things like this January indicator trifecta and different monthly trades, triple witching, options expiration type of stuff. So again, there's a link there. It says Get STA on the website, and you get the book free with the subscription. But what we have this year is the post-election year edition, and I alluded to some of my outlook there early on. We've got a few different things. Just one of the concerns that some of my subscribers and some people have been looking at is this post-election year tendency to be difficult for new Republican administrations, whereas the midterm years tend to be rougher for the Democrats. I think that's changed a bit recently, but here we are coming off of a 1968 election year where we had the incumbent drop out, and the analog on the chart, which I put out there earlier, is kind of similar with the little sell-off in December. So 69 was a rough year, post-election year, but it was also Vietnam. There is some global turmoil out there. There's no recession. I don't see any recessionary indicators right here, but things can change. So some of the older 57, 69, 73, some of those years were post-election years were trouble for new Republican administrations. It's one of the things that we talk about in the book and that I'm concerned with right here. But right now, things are looking pretty good with this correction. We're feeling it's a little bit of taking some of the froth off the market and setting up, the next leg of the bull. But as I said, you got to watch out for Santa Claus the first 5 days, and the January indicator trifecta also featured in the Almanac. This trifecta builds on the barometer, that January barometer that Yale created. As January goes, so goes the year, along with the Santa Claus rally, which we discussed. He invented those in 72, and we add in his first 5 days early warning indicator. When all three of those are up, Santa Claus first 5 days in the full month January barometer, the market, the S&P is up 29 to 32 years, 90.6% of the time for an average gain of 17.7%. I mean, that's a pretty good statistical data set there and pretty good numbers. Anytime one of them are down, numbers are reduced a little bit. So again, we'll be watching that trifecta, and Santa Claus is the first of them.
All right, Jeff Hurst, author of Stock Traders Almanac, joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. Jeff, happy holidays to you, and we're going to dial you up in January.
Yeah, let's do this again, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Get you on more often. We really appreciate you coming on today. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, we're rallying here. We are above that high from Friday, 60-50. The Santa Claus rally is here at indicator. So shortened session today. Triple D, Christian, final comments.
I'll just finish up. I mean, it's retail-driven trade. Expect liquidity to be lower, but expect, if there's any type of, headline or news or something on smaller retail darlings, they can really move. So don't think that, there's just nothing going on and these are quiet days. Sometimes you can get some move. Remember, shortened trading day as well, done at 1 o'clock today after our session goes from 1 to 5. Sometimes you see some opportunities too on these shortened closing days. Maybe some people taken by surprise. The algo is taken by surprise sometimes that the market's closing early. So actually, sometimes this day can be pretty exciting.
And Christian, what do you got out there?
I would say have a great shortened holiday day. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. And have a good day, guys.
All right. Jay Woods joining us on Thursday. And then you want to talk bullish? Ryan Dietrich joining us on Friday.
Very
Happy
nice.
holidays, folks. See you Thursday morning.